All right, and now it's time to chill out for a little bit. Let's hop into store brand TMZ. Justin Bieber! All right, this week on store brand TMZ, we got a couple different videos for you here. This first one here, have you heard of this Twitch streamer Kick? One of these apps. I don't follow this crap. Kai Cenat. Have you ever heard of this guy? The black guy with the dreadlocks. Well, he's very, very famous on Twitch. And he got one of those those miniature AI humanoid robots. Have you seen those things? They're like $70,000. I don't know what they do, but they're a humanoid AI robot. And he posted this on his Twitch stream with this robot. Go ahead and check this out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments on YouTube and Rumble.
Wait. Oh, no! Bitch ass nigga. Lame ass nigga. Bitch ass nigga. What's that nigga? Nigga, you a fucking robot, nigga. Oh, shit. Oh, my bad, my boy. You up down there, nigga? Nigga, where your mom at, nigga? Where your mom at, boy? Where your mom's at, my boy? Where your mom? Oh! What the fuck was that? Wait, he's extra heavy, man. Watch out, boy! Bro, this is 70,000, bro. Boy, he's tweaking, bro.
Okay, answer this. Did you find that video a little disturbing?
Of them just beating on this?
Of them, like, bullying it?
Yeah.
You found that a little disturbing. I never thought I would feel bad for an AI robot before. Like, I know it's not a human. I know it doesn't have a soul. It's even below an animal, right? Like, you could make way more. Like, obviously, if you see somebody kicking a puppy like that, you would say, that horrible monster, put him in jail. But there's something about that video. It's not... I don't know how to describe it. You know what I'm saying, though, right? Like, there's something disturbing about that you get something, it's built like a small human, and your instinct is just to push it around and bully it. Even though it's not sentient, I understand that. It's still weird to me. It gives me this weird feeling that I don't know how to describe. I shouldn't feel bad for it, because it's not a real person. It's the equivalent of kicking your laptop around. It's just stupid to do that to something expensive. But the fact that they see something that's built like a human being, a small human being, and feel the need to bully it and push it around and kick it like that is what disturbs me. Does that make sense? It's not the actual quote-unquote victim itself. It's the act that they're doing. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see companies that design these robots are going to shift away from making humanoid robots because of this. That's my opinion. We'll see. Okay, this next one here. Anthony Mackie is set to play the new Captain America. Does anyone still watch these Marvel movies? Or is this just some giant money laundering scheme? Who watches this crap? But Anthony Mackie's set to play the new Captain America, and he was recently at a conference where they asked him about what Captain America means to him, and he had quite an interesting answer. Check this out.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of, this is kind of like an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid, all of us as actors, I believe, want to get back to that day before someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess in the tower, that kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day somebody told him, no, there are no dragons, that's not a sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was for me.
So Captain America doesn't represent America. It doesn't, when you think Major League Baseball, I think Major League Baseball represents a lot of things, but baseball's not one of them. What? Why not just say, hey, I grew up watching Captain America. I get everything else he was saying. Why not just go, hey, I grew up watching Captain America, reading the comics, whatever. This is an honor to play it. It's a real big deal for me. I mean, this is like, and then say everything you just said. Why did you feel the need to add that part in? Because here's what you just did. Again, what did I tell you about Selena Gomez not realizing that the culture had changed, right? Fucking around and finding out. Well, you're going to find out as people are done with this shit. And if you take a movie like Captain America, a character like Captain America, who's always been billed as someone who was pro-USA, pro-freedom, rah-rah America type. Obviously, his name's fucking Captain America. And you try to bastardize it with wokeism like that, what you're going to get is you're going to see a lot of people go, no, thanks, I'm good. I mean, you've seen the way that what's that dumbass, the Hispanic chick that's playing Snow White? What's her name?
Rachel Ziegler.
Yeah, you've seen, I've never rooted for a movie to fail before until she came along with that one. Like, I've always seen movies that weren't of interest to me and like, whatever, I don't care. Rachel Ziegler did something interesting in the fact that she made me actually hope that Snow White bombs at the box office. Like, I genuinely hope people lose their jobs over that and she doesn't work again in Hollywood because it was such a disaster and she's such a cancer and detriment to have on a set when you're trying to promote a movie. He's going to do something similar. I've got the feeling people are already getting sick of the Marvel movies, and they're willing to deal with wokeism to a point. But when you take a character like Captain America and try to baptize it in the piss water that is wokeism, I think you've crossed the line. And again, they're fucking around and finding out. Okay, well, next up, pull up this video here. This is a rapper is now suing Lyft. Have you heard about this? A rapper suing Lyft because she ordered her Lyft, got to the car, and when the driver pulled up, he said, "You're too heavy. You're going to break my car. I'm not going to give you a ride." Check this out here. That's her. That's her right there. Yep, in her meetings with her law team. Her legal team. Okay, that's enough. So she's suing because she's claiming in Michigan, where this happened, that being fat is a protected class. That's right. Being fat is a protected class. You know what she should do? She should pull a Dale Gribble and go apply at Hooters next and see what happens there. Do you think they'd take her at the Michigan Hooters?
No.
No? I think it would kill their business model. That's, I mean, he didn't say, the Lyft driver did not say, "I'm not giving you a ride because you're fat and fat people disgust me." He said, "I'm not giving you a ride because I have a genuine concern that you might damage my vehicle to the point that this ride on its own will not compensate me for the damages." Now, here's my thing. I drove Lyft for a minute, like 10 years ago. And if I had somebody get into a car like that, I'd be sending Lyft the bill for whatever damage they did to the alignment of my vehicle. Okay, we got two more here for Store Brand TMZ. We've got a new song that is absolutely blown up on the charts. Nobody expected this one here. It has topped them all. Post Malone, Taylor Swift, none of them have been able to top this new song on the billboards. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Just play it.
That's what we do. We're bringing the boom to you. If you're a believer, come follow me. Gonna break the boom meter. We're here to break the boom meter all across the land. AJ, Big Justice, and the AMH band. We bring the boom with power more than you should consume. Because the beat's so strong when the drums go boom. We'll break the boom meter, yeah, we're raising the stakes. With double drum, the cookies. I ain't chicken bakes. When I come down the way from the...
How? I want to know where they got the Wish Tenacious D, first off. Here's what I got to say. as a kid who grew up listening to new metal.
I'm still eating my chicken bake.
Limp Bizkit, Korn, Saliva, System of a Down. It warms my heart to see AJ and Big Justice leading the rap metal revival here in 2025. If we're going to start 2020, I did not have rap metal making a comeback in 2025 on my bingo card, but I can't think of anybody better than AJ and Big Justice to lead it. I'm all for it. I love the genre crossover. I mean, this is like Post Malone doing country. This is like Run DMC and Aerosmith collabing a long, long time ago. This is a big, monumental moment in the history of music. We cannot overlook it. These guys could be the new Brat Pack. Okay. Or no, were the Brat Pack? They were actors, weren't they? Who is the $1 million quartet? That's who it was, with Elvis, Johnny Cash, and the other two guys. Okay, we got one more here. Well, as we all know, the Super Bowl has been set. That's right. You can either root for the Philadelphia Eagles or the CIA. And as always with games with the Kansas City Chiefs, there are a number of questionable calls. And the number one LASIK eye surgery company in the country decided to use this moment as a good marketing scheme. Check this out. It's just a picture here. It's a tweet they posted. They said, better vision, better calls. We are still literally offering all NFL referees free LASIK. And then they have a picture of the first down that Josh Allen clearly got on the fourth down QB sneak that was awarded as a first down to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, why do I bring this up? You can take that down. Here's the thing, guys. The NFL is making the same mistake that the NBA did. And the NBA is hemorrhaging viewers like there's no tomorrow. The NFL's doing the same thing that the NBA did, first with LeBron James and then with the Golden State Warriors, which was making the calls and the officiating so blatantly biased toward one team and one player in particular that people go, you know what? I'm done. I can't watch this anymore. Right now, it's a running joke, right? It's kind of people say it like mutter it under their breath, frustrated, like, well, we all knew that the Chiefs were going to get the call, blah, 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 blah. But eventually what's going to happen is people are going to get so sick of it, they're going to realize it's a waste of their time, and the viewers are going to go away. Now, the problem is you can correct after those viewers leave, but some of them are never coming back. Probably 40 to 50% of them. They find something else to do with their time, they enjoy it better, and they don't care anymore. They realize they don't need the NFL. They're playing a very, very dangerous game trying to capitalize on the Patrick Mahomes element of it, on the Taylor Swift element of it, of the Golden Boy. They're playing a very, very dangerous game. Because here's my thing. This is no longer a conspiracy theory, in my opinion. You cannot watch these games and tell me that the Kansas City Chiefs are not getting preferential treatment by the officials. It's a blatant fact. There's no denying it at this point. That fourth down, I assumed that he had it. I assumed that he had it. The fourth down QB sneak with Josh Allen, it was so obvious that he had it that I walked out of the room to go get something to drink because I assumed, okay, well, there's no chance they even look at this. It's so blatant, even if they go to measure it. And the side judge, who has the best view from the sideline to see if he had the first down or not, called it a first down. The back judge, who couldn't see it, came in from behind and altered the call. They are so clearly fixing games in favor of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing a dangerous game, and it's going to destroy the brand that is the NFL if they don't knock it off right now. I would go as far to say that if the Philadelphia Eagles don't win next Sunday, the NFL's future is in jeopardy. They put a major cap on just how much higher their ceiling can go if the Philadelphia Eagles do not win. Because now, I mean, you're at a point now where even if the refs blatantly favor the Eagles and the Chiefs still win, people aren't going to accept it because they're so tired of the bullshit. They can only put up with so much abuse for so long. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. And the worst part is they found ways to do it through no calls and spots and turnovers and replay reviews so that it doesn't show up on the stat sheet anymore how they're fixing these games. You don't see an egregious amount of penalties called on one team. They'll even throw in some garbage time penalties on Kansas City that don't matter so that they can skew the stats. That's how this way it is. Everyone knows that if you go into the fourth quarter against the Chiefs up by a score, you're going to lose because a bad call is going to affect the outcome of the game. And that is not good for the NFL's brand. That will lead to the destruction of them as a league. I'm telling you right now, people are already turning to college football. Don't fuck around like this. You're playing a very, very dangerous game, especially when there are 31 other billionaires involved. I'm not saying it's scripted. I'm saying there are very clearly the officials are trying to alter the outcomes of these games, and it has to stop right now. You may even see a federal investigation, considering you've got an overzealous president who maybe doesn't like one of the star players' girlfriends all that much. Anyway, I'm just saying, he tweeted, "I hate Taylor Swift," right next to "I hate Hitler." The only two people he's ever tweeted "I hate" in all caps. Okay, that has been Store Brand TMZ. Stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. All right, it's time for trending this week. First off, let's hop into let's go to the mirror. Let's hold up the mirror to people real quick. Let's do Caleb holds up the mirror. Take us down to that one. Donald Trump has recently pitched a new idea to get the Tic Tac deal taken care of, and I'm not a fan of it. Go ahead and play. This is a conversation he had with Larry Ellison, the CEO of Google. While he was on the podium, Trump began negotiating with the guy in front of the press. Listen to what they have to say, and then I'll tell you why I don't like it.
Well, let me do this first.
Are you open to Elon buying TikTok?
Say it.
Are you open to Elon buying TikTok?
I would be if he wanted to buy it,
Then
yeah.
on your inauguration,
I'd like Larry to buy it, too. I have the right to make a deal. So the deal I'm thinking about, Larry, let's negotiate in front of the media. The deal, I think, is this, and I've met with owners of TikTok, the big owners. It's worthless if it doesn't get a permit. It's not like, oh, you can take the U.S. The whole thing is worthless. With a permit, it's worth like $1 trillion. So what I'm thinking about saying to somebody is buy it and give half to the United States of America, half, and we'll give you the permit. And they'll have a great partner, the United States. And they'll have something that's actually more valuable because they have the ultimate partner, and the United States will make it very worthwhile for them in terms of the permits and everything else. But so think of it, you have an asset that has no value or has $1 trillion value. It all depends on whether or not the United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give the permit, and the United States should get half. Sounds reasonable. What do you think?
Sounds like a good deal to me, Mr. President.
He can afford it, too.
I apologize. Larry Ellison is the CEO of Oracle. Larry Page is the CEO of Google. Larry Ellison is who he was talking to. Lots of very rich and powerful Larrys in the tech industry. That's the big takeaway from this segment if you take nothing away. So let me summarize what he was saying. He was basically saying that he wants an investor to come in, a United States investor, to come in, buy half of TikTok, and then the other half will belong to the United States government. Now, on paper, some people might go, oh, this sounds great. He's going to save TikTok. This is a horrible, bad, terrible, no good idea. Do you remember what I told you on November 6th? That this show was not going to be the Donald Trump ball washing hour. When he does good things, we're going to applaud him for it. We're going to debunk the lies about him, but we're also going to call out the things we don't like. The idea of the federal government owning half of an app as important as TikTok was, specifically in the 2024 presidential election, is so short-sighted. So short-sighted. Because here's the thing. You guys listening to this, you might trust Donald Trump to control TikTok. What have we not learned from the last 4 years? We already had a problem with the federal government censoring political opponents, with the Biden administration, censoring political opponents and colluding with tech companies when they weren't supposed to. What do you think they're going to do when you give them 50% ownership of one of these companies? That is a disastrous idea. I understand he's trying to save it and he's trying to be the deal maker who makes things happen. I get it. That's fine. I understand where he's coming from. But as we have learned, power changes hands. And when you set a precedent today, you have to prepare yourself for how that precedent is going to be used against you in the near or distant future. Now, I think Donald Trump cares a lot about his legacy, and I don't think he wants his legacy to be the guy who handed over one of the single most important apps pertaining to the 2024 presidential election to Gavin Newsom in 4 years. I mean, could you imagine that psychopath with control, with 50% ownership in a company as big as TikTok? That's a bad idea. It's also a bad idea for the government to be involved in these things, period. I don't like that. We know it would get exploited. We know it would get abused. And government ownership of private entities like that is communism. So I think we should avoid doing that as well, just from an economic perspective. Bad idea. Mia, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think the government should buy 50% of TikTok? How do you feel?
As long as I can keep watching my TikTok videos.
Well, you'll watch your state-approved TikTok videos, comrade. That's whatever they feel is good for you is what you'll get. It's 1984. Okay, let's go to the next one here. So there's been some controversy because Donald Trump did a blanket pardon a couple weeks ago, and we covered this briefly with Jacob Wilson, but we'll talk about it a little bit deeper here. Donald Trump issued a blanket pardon of January 6th prisoners, right? Now, the controversy here was because J.D. Vance said, I believe in the debate with Tim Walz, it may have been in an interview, I don't remember, but J.D. Vance said that he did not support a pardon of violent offenders on January 6th. Well, Donald Trump issued a blanket pardon for all of them. It was thousands of them, and it was over 1,000 of them, and it was obviously controversial. People are losing their minds about this, and well, okay, I'll tell you how I feel. Here's how I feel. I do not believe, under normal circumstances, that the people who are convicted of violent crimes, vandalism, or theft should have been pardoned. However, these were not normal circumstances. You had people. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, the people that just walked into the Capitol, the people who just were at the Capitol and never even set foot in it and did years for trespassing. I'm talking violent crimes like assault on police officers. I'm talking vandalism. I'm talking theft. 3 very specific, easily definable crimes. On paper, no, I don't believe those people should have been pardoned. However, you have to look at the nuance of this situation. There's a little bit more context than did he hit a cop or did he not. Whatever the, maybe, let me think about how to say this. Maybe pardoning these violent criminals was not the way to go. Maybe commuting their sentences was, like Biden did with murderers and pedophiles. Maybe that was the way to go. But at the same time, what you have to realize is a lot of these people were bullied into plea deals after being held in prison as political prisoners for years. So these are not the normal circumstances I was referring to. These were people that got their rights as American citizens absolutely trampled on. They should have come across the border illegally. They might have had better luck. But they got their rights as American citizens absolutely trampled on for 4 years. They were the subject of a federal witch hunt. Who knows if these people actually committed violent crimes? So J.D. Vance said he supported looking at these on a case-by-case basis and issuing the pardons that way. Donald Trump issued a blanket pardon. My opinion, what happened here is they came into office. They said, okay, this is going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. If we're going to pardon all of these people on a case-by-case basis, let's do an individual blanket pardon. They've all pretty much served the time for the worst of the things they've done. Just be done with it. We'll get it over with early. We'll take all the negative heat in the press from it early, and it'll be done in 6 months. Nobody will even be thinking about it. So that's what I think the play was here. I think they realized when they got there that was going to be a huge, huge time crunch, and they don't exactly have a lot of time. Like I said, you got about 2 years to get the best parts of your, the most, the boldest parts of your agenda completed. So they realized we don't have a lot of time. We don't want to spend this money. Let's blanket pardon all of them. They've done 3 to 4 years each. They've sat in prison with no bail, no attorney. They've been terrorized, had their rights set on fire in front of them. They've all served enough time. Let's end it. Let's end it and let's move on. And I think that was the right thing to do under these circumstances. Now, had they actually gotten a fair trial, had they not been political prisoners who sat in prison for years and weren't allowed to have an attorney, couldn't have bail, blah, 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 that would be a different story. But that was not the case. These people all there were absolutely people who did stupid things, and those people should have served time. But they all collectively got railroaded by a politicized Department of Justice, and that's the important thing to realize here. So I don't have a problem with what he did. You see, I criticize him, and then I compliment him on something that's a little bit more controversial. You see how balanced this show is? Can you think of a more moderate, independent show than That's Based with Caleb Salvatore? Have you ever seen one yourself? Has there ever been a more moderate, independent show than ours?
Well, this is really the only show I listen.
Well, you listen to Just Jossing Around.
That's true.
What's your favorite episode of that show?
The one where she talks about you.
Oh, yes. The one where she wrongfully accused me of using a slur that I did not use and someone else did, and then they continued to refer to me as the one who used the slur. Is that the one you're talking about? I think that might have been the most viewed episode, if I'm not mistaken. Because people were wanting to see what they were saying about me. I'm glad I could give them attention. That was a 30-minute segment on that show. We're going to dedicate 30 seconds to her right here. And I already feel like a jackass for doing that because I'm wasting my audience's time. But I'm obviously important enough to dedicate 30 fucking minutes for something I didn't actually say to an entire segment on a show. So that's how important we are here. Do you see how we're changing hearts and minds over here, Mia? We're doing positive things here at That's Based with Caleb Salvatore. We really are. I do want to say one thing real quick, unrelated to any of my feuds or any of that bullshit. The photos you saw earlier from the protests in Omaha, those were original photos. We will, if you get us photos or videos and submit them, calebsalvatore95@gmail.com. I'm trying to get my business email back up. Outlook's being retarded and GoDaddy's harassing me. That'll get back up and we'll have it updated. calebsalvatore95@gmail.com. You just send it to that, my old business email. If you send me photos or videos that we decide to use on the show, I will pay you for them. Now, you can't have uploaded them to any social media before I run these on the show that airs. I'll let you know when the show's going to air and when we're going to post it. But if you send me original content, photos, videos that we can use, I don't care what it's of. If it's it's something you deem to be worthy of being aired on this show, political protests, rallies, events, things like that. If it's somebody freaks out in line in front of you at McDonald's, I'd probably pay you more for that than I would for footage of a rally. We want to see it. Send it to us. I will send you money. Send it with your Venmo.
$1 whole.
No, I'm not even going to tell people how much I sent Jacob today. Here's the other thing. If there is a event that's taking place within an hour of you, I'm not paying for anything beyond an hour. If there's an event that's taking place within an hour of you and you drive to that specifically to get the footage, you weren't just there dicking around, and this is going to be honor code, but you drive to that specifically to get the footage, I will reimburse you for gas money. If there's a convention that you think in your area that you think might be newsworthy to us and you want to go in there and do man on the street style interviews, I'm not supplying your camera. But if you run it by me and I deem that that's something that's worthy of our time, I will reimburse your tickets to that event and pay you per interview that we use clips of on the show. I'm willing to throw out money for content here. I've never been clear about that. I want to engage with my audience, but it's calebsalvatore95@gmail.com. If you have content, if you video footage, images, anything that you deem to be newsworthy, if you have a scoop on a story that hasn't been published anywhere else and you're going to let us break it, as long as I can validate that, and I'm not, that there's obviously some evidence to it, it's not going to get me shut down or taken to court, I will pay you for that scoop to let us break that news. I'm very much trying to work with people here. We got a couple other things we're working on that we're going to run out some tests for at first. And then if you're interested in working as a street reporter, get at me, calebsalvatore95@gmail.com. We can talk. We'll set up a phone call, me and you, and do the thing. We are going to start doing, once the weather gets a little bit nicer out here, some man on the street segments. I got a couple reporters already lined up. But if you're in another city, and that's something that interests you, and you don't have the time to set up the platform or anything like that, I can't pay you a whole lot of money, but I'll pay you a little bit if the work's good. So we'll get that set up and we'll air it on the show. It'd be absolutely. I'm a generous god, to quote King Xerxes in 300. We'll take care of you. I appreciate it. Because let's be real, man. If you want to start a YouTube channel and don't know how, the $10 a video that I'm going to pay you for clips that we use of your man on the street interviews, probably more than you're going to make in 3 years of running that YouTube channel by yourself. Just being honest with you. So send them to us and we'll cut out the middleman. We'll do it. Okay. I just wanted to get that out there. Mia's going to be doing man on the street interviews. Aren't you? Yeah, we're sending Mia to the OEAAs to conduct man on the street interviews. Because she's probably the only one in our inner circle who's not banned from it. Now, you're probably, you may be you're either not banned and not on their radar at all, or you're at the tippy top of the ban list. Which one do you think? Where do you think you fell for the OEAAs?
I'm probably not on their radar, but I hope I'm on the tippy top.
You might be encroaching on it soon. Don't worry. I think things might start changing. You might be on the radar for the OEAAs. Okay. Well, let's go to the next one here. Donald Trump issued a ban on transgenders in the military. This is something he did in his first term as president, and Joe Biden reversed it. Now, remind you, we lost about 15,000 troops here. However, Donald Trump also reinstated close to 15,000 troops who were unlawfully kicked out due to their refusal to take the COVID vaccine. Now, Mia, remember I told you a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Pete Hegseth that the number one responsibility of the military is to fuck shit up and kill people. Let me ask you, even trade 15,000 for 15,000, who would you rather have in a job to fuck shit up and kill people? Guys who refused the COVID vaccine that were otherwise lawfully enlisted military service members, or transgenders? Who would you not kill themselves, kill other people? Transgenders. Okay. I knew that was coming. Well, before everybody freaks out about how it's discrimination, because here's the thing.
Why do you keep calling me Bill?
Here's the thing. I used to, long time ago, be against the transgender military ban. I'm like, this is discriminatory. And then I had a friend who had served in the Army said, no, dude, it's not. It's not about discrimination. It's not about hatred. It's about the military is a group effort. You are a unit, right? They don't just use that word lightly. You are a unit. And people like that take away from the concept of the unit. They objectively suffer from mental illness and suicidal ideations at a much higher rate than the rest of the population. They draw attention to themselves. They require additional treatment. It's just not good for morale, and it doesn't help the unit move as one. And that's why they should. I'm like, I had never thought of it that way because I'd never been in the military, so I had no idea, no way to know that. But it made sense to me, and I completely agree with it now. Let me give you a list of other conditions that are not allowed in the military: flat feet, anxiety, mild asthma, ADHD, OCD, a past eating disorder at any point in your life. So even if you beat it, you can't join. And food allergies, specific food allergies. So this is not about discrimination. This is about having the strongest fighting force known to man.
What about a narrow urethra?
A narrow urethra. I would have to do some research. That was not on the list I found. You should ask Siri. She might be able to tell you. But here's another fact, and this is Minnesota State Senator Lee Fink. Go ahead and check out what, quote unquote, she had to say about this.
A White House official told me that basically this order today will direct the DOD to figure out the readiness of transgender service members in response to the question of what's going to happen to them, the thousands. And in this order, it talked about, that, raising the question of whether transgender service members have the readiness or whether they should be banned from the military. What do you say to that?
I would say that there is no evidence anywhere that has been presented that transgender service members are anything but qualified to be a part of our military service. The military is the largest employer of transgender Americans. You heard up to 14,000, 15,000 members identify as trans, and 56 of our retired generals have said that our trans members are ready to serve. They are fit to serve. This will only make our military less ready to serve by taking 15,000 people who volunteered out of service.
You heard it there yourself. The largest employer of transgender individuals in the United States. Do you have any idea why that is? Do you have any idea why the military attracts so many transgenders, Mia? Any speculation as to why?
Guns.
No. They attract so many because the federal government, under Biden administration policies,
Pay for it.
will pay for your operation and your hormones, not just while you're in the military, but for life. Now, here's the other kicker. When you join, after you receive that procedure, or even receive hormone pills for it, you're no longer allowed to serve in combat. So they join the military, they get the procedure paid for by the taxpayers, and then they can't fight. So they'll serve however many years they want, or however many years they have to, get out, go into the private sector, and for the rest of their lives, we pay for whatever treatment they need related to that abomination that they call a procedure. It is tranny welfare on the taxpayer dime. They are exploiting the United States military to pay for these procedures for people who can never see combat and have no intention to actually contribute to the military. Now, I'm not saying all 15,000 of them are doing a shit job. That's not the suggestion I'm making. All I'm saying is if it's the number one employer for transgender people in America, there's a reason. We are being exploited. They are milking the federal government like a cow to take our money and pay for I'm fucking die mad about this. I don't care. Unnecessary procedures. That's what it is an unnecessary procedure. Unnecessary procedures. Man, you thought the veteran suicide rate was high before they started letting transgenders in. Whew, imagine what it's at now. At least we'll cut it in half. That's another Trump success, right? Okay, let's go to the next one here. RFK Jr. is testifying for his Senate confirmation hearing. And man, we got some firecrackers. We're going to go rapid fire on these videos because they are great. But here's the first. It's an image. This is prior to the hearing even starting. This is a member of the media already had a negative headline cooked up before it started. RFK Jr. faces grilling over anti-vaccine comments and animal mutilation. So at confirmation hearings, this is before he even set foot on the Senate floor. Why? Oh, I don't know. Could it be that maybe one of the members of the Senate leaked this to the press, what they were going to do, and they wanted to get out ahead on the propaganda campaign? You can take that down now. It's just you don't hate the mainstream media enough. But we've got a lot of videos from this, so I want to get into playing them real quick. This is the first one. Real easy question. Started off kind of light. He was talking about McDonald's and Diet Coke and shooting down a lot of the misconceptions that he's here to actually ban the food you want to eat. No, that's not what he wants to do. Turns out he doesn't want to ban the food you eat. He wants to let people know what's in the food they eat and create an actual national movement, not the fake Big Mike Michelle Obama national movement you saw about 8-10 years ago. An actual national movement that wakes people up to the garbage that's in their food and tries to get them to stop consuming it. Check this out.
I don't want to take food away from anybody. If you like a cheeseburger, a McDonald's cheeseburger, a Diet Coke, which my boss loves, and you should be able to get them. If you want to eat Hostess Twinkies, you should be able to do that. But you should know what the impacts are on your family and on your health.
So basically what this is going to do is he's not going to actually ban the food. I don't even think he can do that. Oh, he can in certain instances, but not to the scope that he would probably like to. He's not going to ban the food. What he's hoping to do is create such a public outcry about the actual poison that's in these foods that companies like McDonald's, companies like Coca-Cola, companies like Hostess come under immense pressure to change the ingredients and go a more healthy route. He's planning to actually manipulate the food market through capitalism, not through government interference and threats, but through the free market saying, hey, we don't want to eat this anymore. We don't want to drink this anymore. So why don't you change what you're doing? Or we're just going to go a different route. We're going to stop consuming your products. Do you think it'll work? What do you think? Do you think that'll, I like the idea, but do you think it'll work in practice?
I do like the idea. I see where he's coming from. I don't foresee it working.
I don't either. Is there something you wanted to add to it or no?
No, because, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, the average American...
I just don't think that a lot of people are really going to care.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to really change their minds.
Care
enough.
My hope is that it comes... This is the first time it's ever come from a position as high as the White House, though. That's the big hope, is that maybe this time will be different, because you've always had people screaming about the garbage that's in our foods. You've always had people screaming about the fluoride that's in the water, but they've always been written off as fringe extremists. You can't do that now. If he gets confirmed, and it's looking like he's going to, as Secretary of the Department of Health, you can't just shoot him down and dismiss him. You actually have to listen to what he's saying, and you actually have to, these people, or for the first time ever, are going to have to confront the things he's saying with logic and facts rather than censorship. And that's what they don't like. Now, I agree. I think the average American, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, it's cheap, it's convenient. They may see a little hit, but maybe not big enough of one to justify them going a different direction. I like where his heart's at. I agree. I don't know if this is I hope it does, but I don't know if this is going to have any type of long-term effect. We'll see. It remains to be seen. But he had a number of... Do you have anything else you wanted to say before I go to the videos? He had a number of memorable exchanges with various senators. Here's one. Bernie Sanders, the man who stopped Markwayne Mullin, the res senator, from absolutely tearing that union president to shreds. Here's what Bernie Sanders had to say.
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Healthcare a human right. Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
yeah.
I would say it's different, because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool. Well, and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you.
No, you wouldn't.
A few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, is a human right. I'm not hearing you say that. All right. You've talked about the drug companies, and maybe we agree.
I'm so sick of this human right thing. They throw human right, because it's a buzzword. It doesn't actually mean anything. Healthcare is a human right in the sense that everyone has the right to go out and get healthcare, right? No one can tell you you can't get healthcare. You may have to pay a little bit more for it based on certain circumstances, but nobody can tell you you can't get healthcare, right? By the way, poor people, old people, we have Medicare and Medicaid. We have the VA. There are plenty of programs that are in place to make sure that people don't slip through the cracks in this country. That is a misconception. It is a lie. The middle class are the ones getting fucked over by the healthcare system, by Obamacare specifically. I could go on a whole rant about this. We don't have time for that today. The human right argument, though, is such a tired, old diatribe. I'm sick of hearing about it. Yes, because here's the problem. In these countries, because RFK was about to explain that, but Bernie cut him off because he didn't want his whole socialist ideology to collapse like a sandcastle in front of him. In these countries where the government guarantees healthcare as a quote-unquote human right, do you know what happens? We've already gone over what happens in Canada, where they've now legalized assisted suicide, and they're recommending it to people as young as 15 years old for conditions like depression, because the state-run healthcare system can't afford to take care of them. You have situations like that. You have situations like over in England, where they're telling people, if you have a BMI of over 30, we're not going to help you anymore as the state-run healthcare. You're just going to die. If you're a smoker, we're not going to help you anymore. We're going to push you to the bottom of the list. That's what happens when the government overregulates any type of business, even healthcare. Is they have good intentions and it leads to destruction. Another example is there was a couple years ago, in England, there was a couple that had a son. It was a baby. It was Baby Alfie was the name of it. Do you remember this? Baby Alfie? It was a big controversy. He had some chronic condition that would have otherwise killed him. And there was nothing they could do in England. There were experimental treatments that hadn't been proven, but the kid was 100% certain to die if they continued on the regimen they were on, which is basically just palliative care. There was a doctor in Italy who had had some success with a trial he had been doing on an experimental treatment for this kid's specific illness. The family said to the NHS over in England, we want to take our son to Italy to get this treatment. We're not asking for money. We're not going, we'll pay for it out of pocket. Like, what? Not doing anything with you here. That's what they told their doctors at the NHS. They denied them this because when you are under the umbrella of state-run healthcare, you are a slave to the state. They own your body. And that's what no one wants to talk about with this socialized medicine crap, is the state owns your body. They can deny you healthcare. And in America, if your insurance denies you healthcare, yeah, it sucks, but you can go get another insurance company that costs a little bit more money. You can go into debt. There's other options. In these countries, you just die. They just tell you to kill yourself. So this kid, the parents tried to escape and flee the country as refugees to Italy to get this surgery, and armed police officers in riot uniforms, I'm not kidding, grabbed this family, drugged them and their kid back to the hospital, and made them sit there and watch their infant son die. Because when you live under, like I said, when you live under the tyranny, and that's what it is, of government-run healthcare, that's the harsh reality of it. Is the United States system perfect? Absolutely not. But when you live under that tyranny, they own you. You are their slave, and you will do what they say. That includes going against your basic human instinct to protect your own child. Now, I think Bernie's heart is in the right place. I really do. I don't think he can defend his arguments. You saw him get gutted like a deer by Ted Cruz on CNN about 8 years ago. But I think his heart's in the right place. I think these people, they see a real problem and they see that as a solution. It's not the solution. The solution is not one you like. The solution is not a perfect one. But the best solution we have is to open the markets up, repeal Obamacare, and let these insurance companies cross state lines and compete with one another to make sure we can get the cheapest and best care available to us. Not health care that's going to say, hey, if you smoke cigarettes, we're not going to treat you. Not health care that's going to say, hey, if you're depressed, you're too much of a burden, you're a veteran, or whatever the case may be with PTSD, you're too much of a burden on the state-run healthcare system. We're just going to recommend you kill yourself. Actual, real solutions. Not perfect solutions, but the best ones available to us are to let the market run its course. Okay, let's go to the next one here. This is a funny one here. We're talking about dead babies and shit. But this is a funny one here. Bernie's kind of speaking of babies. So there was, on RFK's campaign, there were baby onesies for sale on his presidential campaign website that said unvaxxed. And Bernie Sanders was very upset about this. And I heard an exchange between a senator and a cabinet nominee that I thought I would never hear in my life. Go ahead and check this out.
Are you supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will not tell.
Mia, are you supportive of these onesies? Are you supportive of the onesies, Mia? What about the onesies? Are you supportive of the onesies? Never thought I would hear a senator utter those words. Are you supportive of these onesies? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here's a video with RFK Jr. and Oregon Senator and part-time vampire Ron Wyden. I call him a weirdo. Go ahead and check this out.
Know that Mr. Kennedy has embraced conspiracy theories, quacks, charlatans, especially when it comes to the safety and efficacy of vaccines. He has made it his life's work to sow doubt and discourage parents from getting their kids life-saving vaccines. It has been lucrative for him and put him on the verge of immense power. This is the profile of someone who chases money and influence wherever they lead, even if that may mean the tragic deaths of children and other vulnerable people.
So that was his attack video. I'm sorry. We need to bring back bullying people with lisps in this country. Like, the word lisp is so sick and demented if you think about it. They can't pronounce the word that describes their disorder. I want to get a job working for that guy where I write his speeches and I just see how many S words I can fit into one sentence. Just make it miserable. Make him the laughing. I've never heard that guy speak before. Here's his argument that he had with Senator Wyden, the vampire, about pharmaceuticals and vaccines. Go ahead and check this out.
All of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine? Or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right. So
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden. So bringing this up right now is dishonest.
I love it. He's fighting back. They're debunking the lies, and he's able to do it on national television like that. We need more of this. We need more of this because they've done this for the longest time. This has been their tactic, is to take things out of context that they know, like the many fine people on both sides lie, the bloodbath lie. That lie right there that you just saw. They repeat it over and over and over again, even though it's been repeatedly debunked. But it's their go-to because they'd rather go to character assassination and intentionally taking quotes out of context than actually fighting these ideas head on. Here's the thing. I'm not anti-vaccine, you guys. I'm not. You're not either, are you? Mia's not either. But the reality is, when this COVID thing came around, like, I plan to vaccinate our kids for everything but COVID. I do. When this COVID vaccine came around and got pushed on everybody, what happened was you had kind of a Streisand effect, where people were going, okay, they're forcing this on us and they're lying to us so much about this COVID vaccine. What other vaccines are you lying about? And they got into doing a lot of their own research because their doctor dismissed it, but they're like, hey, my doctor's the same one who's pushing this COVID vaccine. So maybe he's in on the take too here. So they started doing their own research. They started going to people that were maybe not the most dependable sources. And I'm not talking about RFK Jr. on that. RFK Jr. is not anti all vaccines. He's anti the way we administer vaccines to kids at their age, and I'll get into that in a second. But they started looking into people who were maybe not the most reliable sources, and what they did was the federal government, Dr. Fauci, and the Department of Health inadvertently created an entire new generation of anti-vax parents who never otherwise would have even considered it until they ran this giant lie campaign with the COVID vaccine. Now, RFK Jr., his issue is not with vaccines. He's not saying you shouldn't get vaccinated for measles or anything like that. That's not what he's saying. RFK Jr. is saying, hey, maybe there's a problem with the way we issue vaccines. Maybe we should actually look at the people that we're administering these vaccines to before we just shoot them up with all of them and then go, oops, well, looks like you were allergic to that one, and now you've got all these different issues that you wouldn't have had we not given it to you. That turns out these issues are actually worse than the virus you would have caught if you had gotten it. That's all he's saying. He's also saying, hey, maybe we put these vaccines in these kids all at the same time. Maybe there's something wrong with that. Maybe we should study that. He's not saying that we should outright change the policy overnight. He just wants to look into it. And the fact that the medical community is so concerned about him just wanting to look into it is very, very concerning to me. Here's the reality. I got curious, so I wanted to look. I wanted to check here. In 1995, right? We received, by the age of 6, 15 to 16 doses, if you include varicella, which was 1 dose. In 2024, by the age of 6, the average 6-year-old receives 31 doses of vaccines. 31 doses. Now, I'm not saying that those 15 doses they've added were bad. But we at least have to ask, there's a lot. Look, man, objectively speaking, kids from the 90s were healthier, both physically and mentally, than kids in the 2020s. That's a fact. Is this correlation or causation? I don't know, but I think it's worth looking into. And the fact that they don't even want to look into this is what worries me here. I'm not saying all these vaccines are bad, but do we need to be shot up with all of them by the age of 6? Did we really, were there all these new viruses that popped out to where we need to double the vaccine doses that kids get before the age of 6? It's a legitimate question. It's doubled. Doubled. That should raise red flags for everybody. The fact that it doubled isn't what raises the red flags for me, like I said. The fact that they don't even want to talk about it is what raises the red flags. And the important thing about having RFK Jr. at the head of the Department of Health is now they don't have a choice but to talk about it, because now they can't dismiss him as some kook. Now when the Department of Health comes knocking on your door and not Alex Jones or some conspiracy theorist on YouTube, you actually have to answer for the things you've done and explain them. And he's a lawyer, so he'll pick this shit apart. Let's take a look at Ron Wyden. He's very, very bold in this video. Look, these are his donors. Is OpenSecrets.org. His biggest donor, he gets over second biggest donor, over $1.5 million from the medical industry. $1.5 million received from the medical industry for Ron Wyden. Gee, I wonder why he's such a big defender of a lot of these practices. I can't imagine what's causing that. Well, I wonder where he's coming from with this one. Does he actually feel this way, or is he defending his donors? Big question there. Okay, we got these next videos we're going to play real quick. Elizabeth Warren asked him, I mean, this woman just asked stupid questions. She looked dumb in the Pete Hegseth video. She looks dumb here. Look at this softball question she asked him here. What the hell was she even thinking?
You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're
to
not
what?
going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. Yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this question.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Let's keep going.
She just set him up for a slam dunk there through an accidental alley-oop. The thing is, you can tell she's so stupid, the woman who lied about being Native American to get into college and then lied about it to get elected to the Senate. She's so stupid that she thought she was setting him up for a gotcha moment, and it turned out to be the easiest softball question he got from anybody, Democrat or Republican. Now, here's another video. It's a little bit longer, but it shows how unhinged this woman is and how incapable she is of controlling her emotions. We need to get people like this out of public office. Check this one out.
I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits, so that what you do as Secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I.
It literally is.
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine
overwhelming
pharmaceutical companies.
Not. Mike,
yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it.
I just wanted to show you guys her going wild there. That's I love how he blows his nose halfway through it. Just a lack of respect, and she doesn't deserve any. The woman's completely unhinged. By the way, just like Ron Wyden, let's take a look at Elizabeth Warren's top donors. Let's go look at the sectors over there. Oh, as it turns out, Elizabeth Warren has received nearly $2.5 million, even more than Ron Wyden, from the healthcare and medical industry. She's also received over $1 million from the pharmaceutical industry, which moves that into the top three when you count those two together. So there you go. So turns out she's got a little bit of stake in that game as well. Just a little bit of stake in that game as well. It's crazy how they all got skin in the game. They're all very defensive of their corporate sponsors. You know, I've always said you don't fuck with a man's income, and I guess that's their income, so it makes sense. But, the worst part about this RFK thing is this guy has been brought to testify in front of Congress many a times throughout history. Many a times, specifically in the early 2000s. He was the same guy. And the people that brought him to testify for various policies were the Democrats. And a lot of the times, the policies they brought RFK to testify on behalf of in the 2000s were not policies I agreed with or even agree with now. They were environmental policies. But back then, you didn't see the character assassination. You didn't see this attempt to paint him as some crooked kook who's just out there to make a bunch of money and grift off of vaccines and healthcare. You didn't see that. But this is the same guy. His voice is a little bit raspier, but other than that, he's saying the same stuff now that he was 20 years ago. You can call Bobby whatever you want, but the reality is this guy is, if he's anything, it's consistent. So what's changed? The only thing that's changed between now and 20 years ago, when the Democrats were trotting him out in front of Congress, is the letter next to his name, because they are partisan hacks who serve their corporate sponsors before the American people. Okay, we got a couple more quick ones, then we're getting out of here. J.D. Vance recently did a CBS interview, and if you haven't watched it, it was not an interview, it was an argument. The woman just went after him again and again, cut him off, didn't let him answer the questions, and he handled his own. So I saw this video I wanted to share with you guys. It is a compilation. We're calling him just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's JD the Karen Slayer. Nobody kicks ass and takes names with mediocre middle-aged white women on cable news the way JD Vance does. Go ahead and look at this.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border?
Oh, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics. I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy, but if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this? So please ask a question, and I'd ask you to be polite enough to let me answer it.
Yes, I am, and I think
All right,
that
that's enough.
Martha, do you hear your...
Don't you love how eloquently he just takes them down? Like he's saying the same thing as Trump, but it's in such a nicer tone. Like Trump, I don't remember, he did an interview with someone, I think it was MSNBC, and in the middle of it, he just goes, "You're a nasty woman." Vance isn't doing that. He's basically saying you're a nasty woman, but he's not outright calling you a nasty woman. Like that's... but we did it. I just wanted to take that. I wanted to take that victory. We should have that as a sound effect. You're a nasty woman. I mean, it really is. It's such a great. If you can insult somebody with a smile like that and remain composed, remain professional. Don't come across as being a bully or aggressive or anything like that. But you can throw a little insult in there, let somebody know that they're a little out of line right now, and still take them down with an ideological point. That is a skill that very, very few people possess. And I think J.D. Vance, if all goes according to plan over the next 4 years, might be president in a couple of years here. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe not my favorite, but we might be president in a couple of years. We'll see. That's here's the thing, though, guys. Just wanted to take a little victory lap to show you that. You know, we defeated the cat ladies. We defeated the crystal girls. We defeated the theater kids. We defeated the so-called men who can't bench 225. The frail and the weak and the mentally ill are getting pushed out of power. It's our time, baby. We're entering the golden age of America. Get the fuck out of the way or get on board. Okay, let's go. Next topic here. Let's go to the next one. The drones. We got an answer on the drones. The new White House press secretary, Miss Leavitt, I don't know. She's like 27 with a 60-year-old husband. That's all I know. That's whatever. Do your thing. She commented on the drones, and we sort of, kind of, maybe have an answer on what the New Jersey drones were that dominated the news cycle for nearly a month last year. Go ahead.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
So we basically speculated on that on the show with Monty Scott. Here's my thing, though. They got this from the FAA, which means the Biden administration knew, which means they let, I don't know if I want to call it public panic, but public concern go on for a month that they could have just easily come out and said, hey, this is all this is. It's not the enemy. It's not aliens. It's not time travelers. This is all it is. It's us. But they didn't do that. Why? There's 3 theories I can think of as to why they wouldn't let us know what those drones were when they knew the whole time. Reason number 1, they didn't think we'd believe them anyways, because they knew that they had spent the last 4 years gaslighting and lying to us, and nobody buys any of the bullshit that comes out of their mouths anymore. Number 2, they wanted to stoke fear. It was a deliberate attempt by the Biden administration to rile people up and cause a public panic about UFOs or, a foreign invasion or something like that. Number 3, they were looking for something. They were looking for something, some type of weapon, maybe a dirty bomb, maybe a nuke, who knows, came across the wide open southern border that they let in, and they were running damage control, knowing that that would be the last black eye on what was already the worst presidency in the history of this country. Those are the only 3 reasons why they wouldn't tell us. Pick one. I don't know what the answer is. Okay, two more. Let's get out of here. We got Trump's making some executive orders. We already knew that. He's done more in the first week and a half than Biden did in 4 years. But so we've seen some misconceptions going on. I've seen a lot of lies going all over social media about some of the things he's done, and I want to address 4 of them. We're going to address 4 of these lies here on the show right now. So the first one I saw is that he froze SNAP and Medicaid benefits. So if you can't afford to go to the grocery store or you can't afford health care, you're frozen until they figure it out. That is not the case. That is not the case. They froze some federal spending, but the order specifically says, and these people, this shows how disingenuous they are, that they would just intentionally leave this out to try to scare people, specifically vulnerable people who are on SNAP and Medicaid. How sick do you have to be to try to scare these people to score political points? There's something fundamentally wrong with you. You are rotted to the core. You have no soul. You have a soul, but it's dark and disgusting. The order specifically says any program that provides direct benefits to Americans will not be affected. So they're lying to you about that outright. There's no debating that. That is an outright lie. SNAP and Medicaid both provide direct benefits to Americans. They're lying to you because they want to steal your votes. Next one, they said he raised insulin prices with a repeal. That is another lie. He did not, I repeat, did not repeal the insulin price cap that Joe Biden put in via executive order in 2020 after he had repealed Donald Trump's initial insulin price cap and then signed his own because he wanted to be able to say that he did it. It caused chaos for like half a day because Biden wanted political points. It was bullshit. He did not do that, though. He did not repeal that. He repealed an executive order that Biden had established at the beginning of his presidency that ordered several different departments of government to, quote unquote, explore cutting prescription drug prices. Do you want to know what happened? Or capping prescription drug prices. Do you want to know what happened over those 4 years? Nothing. So he found a wasteful government program that was taking up taxpayer money and wasting government resources and had done absolutely nothing and said, okay, you've explored. What have you found? Oh, you haven't found anything? Bye-bye. We'll talk to you later. If we're going to cap prices, we'll cap prices. But we're not going to sit here and just continue to suck on the taxpayer's tit and waste a bunch of money on it. Even MSNBC, in their article, the most left-leaning news agency in the country, stated that Biden executive orders that lowered drug prices were not reversed per Trump's reversal. Okay, the next one. They said Trump revoked a 1965 civil rights executive order that prohibited racial and sexual discrimination. Now, we all know this is bullshit. That was an act of Congress that banned racial and sexual discrimination. What they're talking about is during the civil rights movement, there was an executive order that was issued by the president at the time that required federally contracted private companies to hire a certain amount of minorities as a quota to keep their federal government contracts. That is what Donald Trump reversed. He did not make it legal to discriminate either in the private sector or government for somebody based on race. In fact, one could argue that this did the exact opposite because now people will be hired based on merit and not the color of their skin. So again, he did not revoke any civil rights order that prohibited quote unquote racial and sexual discrimination. He revoked a section of an executive order that required federally contracted private companies to hire people for no reason other than the color of their skin. Quite literally the opposite. The last one they claim is that he canceled cancer research. Now, this one is a little bit more complicated, but it's also still a lie. Can you hit him with the sound effect? We expose these lies. Lies, 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 lies! They did not do that. They imposed a communications freeze on U.S. health agencies. So federal funding that's going toward cancer research right now has not stopped. They're getting the same amount of money that they were when Joe Biden was president, right? Nothing there has changed. The only thing that's changed now is they can't sit around and have meetings and decide to reallocate funds, increase funding in one spot, cut funding somewhere else until the current presidential administration has a chance to overlook what's going on or review what's going on in these meetings and see what they're talking about, right? That's all they're asking for, which is pretty standard policy for every incoming administration. They want to see where the money's going and how it's being spent, specifically one that's made such an adamant point to talk about cutting the spending and cutting the government waste. So you guys have to stop lying. Lying is what got you into this place. Celebrities like Selena Gomez crying over shit that doesn't affect them in videos that are clearly staged is what got you into this place. I don't care if you keep doing it, because people are seeing through this shit now. The cat is out of the bag. The game is over. You can't do this anymore. It doesn't work. So if you want to continue doing this and watch your party die, by all means, continue. But if you want to have any chance at ever being competitive in the political sphere in the United States again, you have to stop lying. You have to stop taking quotes out of context, and you have to stop with this celebrity worship. You have to. All right, we got one more. Donald Trump also signed an executive order which banned federal funding for transgender surgeries for minors. Here's my question. I don't want federal, it's not a question, it's a statement. I don't want federal funding for transgender surgeries to go to anybody. I don't care how old they are. I shouldn't be paying for it. Period. End of discussion. If that's something... If that's something you want to do on your own time, I mean, I have my opinions about the surgery in general. But under the current laws, if that's something you want to do on your own time, go off. Don't ask me to pay for it. That's all I'm saying here. But he rejected it for minors, and of course people are calling it genocide. They're saying it's murder. Here's another thing. Again, they overestimated, or I guess you could say they underestimated what a losing issue this was. What a losing issue that this was. Here's a recent study, the New York Times, which isn't exactly known for being a conservative outlet, identified. So 77% of people polled throughout the country, this is regardless of political affiliation, race, religion, gender, have said that society has gone too far in accommodating transgender people. 79% say trans, quote-unquote, women should be kept out of women's sports. 71% say no puberty blockers for kids. Now, I find it a little odd that that number was lower than the other two. My guess is people probably didn't know what that meant. But regardless, this is not the winning argument that you guys thought it was. In fact, you way overplayed your hand. You went into this hand with 2-5 unsuited and shoved. And you're just finally starting to figure out what a disastrous hand you just played. Because that's the thing. I mean, let's think about like all the, just over the last 100 years in the United States, right? Let's think about it. Let's think about all the civil rights movements. Black people wanted to be able to send their kids to school with white kids. Oh, yeah, sure. Makes sense. That's reasonable, right? Women wanted to be able to vote. I mean, we can have our disagreements on that one, but at the end of the day, you know, you're an adult, you pay taxes, you work a job. Yeah, I guess you can vote, right? Even gay people, like, hey, we're two consenting adults. We just want to get married. Can you leave us alone? Even that one isn't really a big... Even that one wasn't really a big deal for most people. Or it's not now, at least. The transgender thing has always been, and still is, pretty weird. The concept on its own is weird, but they're not asking for any additional rights that they don't already have. They can already get married. They can already work whatever job they want. They're not banned from schools. They can vote. They can do whatever they want. So they're not asking for rights. They're asking for negative rights. And what a negative right is a right for them to do something that tramples on somebody else's right. They want your free speech to be shut down and censored so that they can feel, quote unquote, affirmed. They want women's privacy to go out the window so that they can get changed in the women's locker room. That's the difference. And that's why it's such a losing issue, because they finally overplayed their hand on the social justice thing. There's nothing I can do in this country that trans people can't. There's nothing. Nothing. They can vote. They can start a family. They can have a job. They can buy a house, go to school, do whatever they want. Nothing. But it's not about getting new rights. The way that the transgender movement is different from all those other ones I just listed is the transgender movement is about taking rights away from you and not gaining rights for themselves. That's the big difference, and that's our show. We will see you guys Monday. Unsolicited advice is back, and then we got Good Take, Bad Take coming up on Wednesday. We're going to be reading from the Great American Conspiracies book every single show, so stay tuned. If you don't normally listen to the Monday or Wednesday shows, now's your reason, because you don't want to miss one of these Great American Conspiracies. Also, shout out to our sponsors, Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com. With the promo code BASED, we'll save you 10% or 15% off your order at the checkout. They got gifts for the Patriot in your life, stuff for you, stuff for your vehicle, stuff for your home and office, and even your dog. Tactilian.com, TACTILIAN.com, promo code BASED, BASED. Like the title of the show, saves you 15% off your order at the checkout, and a portion of the proceeds go to help build homes for wounded veterans. Who doesn't like that? We'll see you guys Monday. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. Tell them what to do.
Stay based.
Stay based.